What's yappening? Happy New Year. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm fine, I guess. Just schoolwork and all that.
A little bit of an eventful day on my end as we are recording this, but I'm ready to get rolling here.
So, for those who are new to the program, as we established in the first episode, this is a behind-the-scenes look at the work we do at KirMedia. But aside from recording the show, we've been on a bit of a production hiatus to sort of catch our breath before the new year. Overall, I want to know how you guys think 2023 went, both for us as an organization, but also for you guys personally. So let's start with you, Shmiz.
2023. I guess it's like fine. I did promise myself I'll probably like do more work in this company, and and pretty much got to do like the writing script work for the Procreate video. So that was fun.
Yeah, the Procreate video is actually one of our most viewed videos actually right now, which is kind of funny because that was the first script I believe that you wrote on your own. We'll touch up on that later in the show. But how about you, Adrian?
Considering I only joined a few months towards the end of the year, everything has been I think 2023 was pretty good. I think on a personal side for me, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride. But as far as WTN goes, when I came in, it was just a matter. I think it was just a matter of coming in at a time of, I guess you could say, a bit of a rebuilding, I guess, on your end, because of everything that happened with the WTN domains and all the platforms that we were on and such. So I think it was just a matter of just a matter of getting ourselves relaunched for the new year. And I think what we have cooked up for 2024, I think we are more than prepared to take on the task. So if anything, I think we're ready.
Yeah, we've been really cooking this year. I'll tell you, 2024. I think I've every year I usually post like a little tweet saying, "Oh yeah, the next year is going to be really awesome. There's a whole bunch of new content." It's been like a yearly tradition, but genuinely, I think 2024 we have a lot to offer our audiences, and it's going to be really amazing. I mean, so looking at professionally, just for a second here, 2023, we had a lot of stuff going on. We were trying to build our backlog as a company, so we had the tech edition, we had regional one news, we had lightning news, which was a continuation of our work from last year. We had news audio, which was a new offering that we ended up tacking on towards the end of August-ish, and we have software reconnect, which was a little software show that I was running on my personal channel, which is our first original KirMedia production. One of the things that was a concern to me though was, are we spreading ourselves too thin? I want to get your thoughts on that because there's a lot of projects. I don't know if a lot of them are doing the same thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think some of them. I think it's something you're probably going to touch on is lightning news being a bit too specific. In some regards, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously WT and regional is obviously specific to your area, so I can't really uh gauge on my own opinion because I'm not really from was it New York, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Although New York would be nice to well, I don't know if living there would be nice, just visiting.
Yeah, visiting is nice as long as you don't mess with the wrong people. I'm joking, obviously. I don't want to fear monger here. But how about you, Adrian? How do you feel about that?
I feel as if, considering we have been rebuilding throughout the past couple of months of 2023, I think it's if we kind of spread ourselves a bit thin, and to be honest, I think the plans for WTN this year, I think they were a little bit ambitious on our part, And I feel like maybe in 2024, where we just need to like streamline and just kind of focus on, I think what really matters here, trying to focus more so on broader content more so than specific content, like with Regional One News, which I don't mind doing, honestly. But to do like just like national and global coverage, I think that's perfect. That would be our bread and butter. And also with the tech edition, that's also a niche that we want to flex our muscles on as well. So I kind of want to lead into that too. So I think those are our two primary focuses that we should be focusing on for 2024.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And honestly, that's been my concern with the entire production lineup that we have going on. With lack of a better term, the thing was each of these ideas came out at a different point of development. So with lack of a better word, we have the tech edition, which was something I had wanted to do for a long time, which is almost a direct manifestation from the work that we had done on Lightning News. We had Regional One News, which kind of came out from my coverage after I had interviewed um, two of the candidates for mayor during the Democratic primary. And then Lightning News was something I came up with in 2022. So as you can see, they're in almost different parts of our timeline, and they kind of fit in different places. So I completely understand why you think that we are spreading ourselves too thin, and it's very unfocused. Moving forward, I do want to also kind of streamline that as well. I agree, we do need to streamline that as well. I've been working towards kind of figuring out which pieces of coverage we should put into one big, nice package instead of multiple smaller ones. And unfortunately, Lightning News was one of the things that kind of slowly I'm starting to realize that we're having a hard time figuring out where it fits, and that's hard for me to say because Lightning News is a very, very it's almost a direct reason for our recognition in on the internet, so to speak. I mean, more or less, we were posting stuff on the internet for years at this point. It was only until we had done Lightning News, and for people who don't know, Lightning News was it kind of hurts to say it was. Lightning News was a video news series that we produced that covered the Inazuma 11 community. Over time, it became tech news, and we sort of lost sight of the Inazuma 11 community as a whole. But in the beginning, it was just Inazuma news about this one game produced by a video game company by Level 5 about a bunch of teenagers slash kids slash people who play soccer. You know, and it's been something I've been hyper fixated on since I was a little kid. So you'll see the nostalgia factor with a lot of it.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was going to also mention that Lightning News was also the first thing I actually applied for instead of like KirMedia as a whole.
Hmm.
until
Yeah,
until I got like essentially promoted, right?
yeah. No, the thing was when Lightning News even first came out as well. It was really funny. I had the idea for Lightning News in June, and then we started. I had asked Tale of the Toaster, an intertuber, about the idea on July 30th, and basically he said, "Why?" Basically, that was the idea. But I was like, you know what? Screw that. I'm gonna do it anyway, and I did it anyway. And I met you, and you're one of our best staff. I think KirMedia came a little bit after Lightning News became a thing after we got our first anchor. And we were like, okay, well, we want to expand past this eventually, but let's just kind of contain it a little bit, So that's where you kind of came in. That was, it was, a year later, almost 2 years later now, in 2024, and yeah, it's history. It's been history ever since. Another thing about Lady News that made me kind of really rethink: is this the direction that we want our content to go in? Is there are people online, now with the game being closer to coming out, now Level 5 has a bunch of actual ambassadors who actually will get the news first. And then, of course, we have people like Bazum, who actually helped us on the June 10th edition of the Tech Edition, the first inaugural edition, who get the news almost instantly. It's insane. I mean, I would be on Twitter, and the post would be maybe like 5 minutes old, and there'll be a tweet by Bazum, and then a tweet by TXM saying, "Oh man, there's a video coming soon by the end of the day," and I'd be in the middle of school like, "Dang." I was like, "Oh man, I can't publish a video about this now." And it really became a big issue for me because they blew our coverage out of the water in terms of speed, and speed is almost it's a paramount to our work as a news organization. So that became a really big deciding factor as to, well, does the community need a lightning news? So I haven't fully decided on if I'm going to axe it or not, but if we do end up axing it, I think we should keep it as like a little series that we do. Maybe instead of it being an actual news program, we can kind of shift it over to something more fun, where we actually, we're not held to the same quote unquote journalistic standards that we were held to back when it was actually a news show. Something like that, where we could have more fun with it, because that's also been part of the work I've been doing with Adrian and with restructuring KirMedia, the World Telegram News, is making sure that we have our news and that it's stacked up real nicely and it's packaged where it's almost undoubtedly news. And then you got KirMedia, where we kind of do whatever we want. We have fun, we have entertainment, we do whatever we want. And yeah, that's been that. But let's talk about our show on June 10th. I mentioned it a little bit ago. Uh, Shmeez, you and me, we split editing duties. Uh, do you remember how that went?
Yeah. I think I was like panicking about like doing full scale editings because like obviously a large part of editing work is just finding graphics and probably like royalty free or copyright free stuff that we could use for the videos that we do, but it's like obviously it's like it's just a bunch of like Roblox after Roblox, just like converting images to like from like WebP into
Oh,
like
I hate
JPEGs or
those.
PNGs.
Those are annoying.
Yeah, I learned the hard way that organizing is very, very important when it comes to finding these things.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you learn that lesson?
What was the? It was like the new CEO for YouTube, the video that we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had like a hard time looking through like the assets I was using for that video. So, and plus like on top of the stress of a deadline, which is probably good to have like a consistent workflow, but it's like obviously deadlines are not really fun.
Yeah, no, they're not. Especially for speaking just for me here, procrastination is my best friend and my worst enemy. So I totally understand. We actually, so this was as you said, a very big collaborative effort. We split editing and voiceover duties in half, and it was a very efficient workflow, I must say. Uh, Funny you mentioned the Neil Mohan new CEO segment. That was actually re-recorded. I had several segments of that show that were rehashes from earlier programs. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that. It's not journalistic or whatever, but yeah, there were rehashes. And later, in I was like, well, okay, we had the Neil Mohan report that was originally reported by Mike Valley, one of our reporters, and I was like, I need you to re-record this, and he couldn't do it, so we actually called a Bazum, and he was like, he got back to me within a few hours, like, here's my voiceover. I'm like, he gave me multiple versions to choose from. I'm like, whoa, thank you. It was great. But this also, speaking of Inazuma, this was the first news show where it wasn't primarily Inazuma related or anything. How did you feel about that? Because I mean, you joined the team sort of to become more involved in the community. So, like, did you feel like a bit of a disconnect there?
Honestly, like, to be honest, I have to admit, I only joined this company to get some quote unquote work experience. Obviously, it's like independent and student work, but it's like I don't mind being disconnected from the community itself. Like, honestly, as long as like I improve like my own skills, such as like video editings and now like script writing, which I think after going into uni, I'm realizing like that it's writing is a bit more of my calling, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, writing is definitely one of your strong suits. I mean, even with that Procreate Dreams script that you sent me, that first draft, it was already very good. All I really did was polished it up. I was wondering why you were so self conscious about it. I'm like, this is good, you know.
Yeah, it's just when it comes to writing professionally, it's just like it's those stuff that you have to do like over and over again to like gain some confidence and like to know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I'm very self-conscious when it comes to like waffling and wait, you guys know what waffling means, right?
Yeah, just rambling. What I do all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, and to be honest, I kind of hope I do more writing work in the company because I'm realizing like ooh, there's like a lot of interesting news I could cover, especially when it comes to like tech related news or art
Well,
related
actually,
stuff, I
it's
guess.
funny that you mentioned that. Sorry to keep cutting you off here. Today, we didn't post an article about this because again we're on a production hiatus. But E3 just got shut down, got canceled. Thoughts, both of you?
I think it was just really, once obviously Nintendo was the first to kind of really, step out on their own and present their own, I guess, promote their own products, to say the least, much earlier than the rest of the studios did, like Ubisoft and Electronic Arts. I think it's just once the pandemic hit, everybody just kind of really shifted to presenting their products and on an online platform. And then I think from that point, I think that was probably a bit of a death knell of sorts for E3. Like it was just a very slow. It was a very slow decline for everybody involved with putting the expo together. So but now we've kind of really reached the point where all these studios are they're doing they're promoting their own stuff, their own time, and perhaps might be a little bit easier for journalists and for video game fans to kind of really see, what's going on, through the pipelines within the video game industry and also in the tech industry too. So, um, I mean, E3 it had the best of times, and we will appreciate that for sure. But the industry has really evolved, I think, since its founding and throughout the over 2 decades that it was running. So sad to see it go, but the future is here and it is now, and um yeah, just pretty much about it.
With the E3 shutting down, I think honestly, I don't know. Considering like what happened with like the game awards, which I personally didn't really watch, but like from what I've like discussed with like some people on my course in my uni or online, that like the game awards was pretty much just a bunch of game trailers, which is like okay, that's not good at all for like an
Hmm.
award show to just show a bunch of trailers.
Yeah, that's oof. That's the. I think the advent of streaming, I think, really assigned the end of significance to a lot of these big expos and organized events and stuff like that. I mean, even with the pandemic and stuff like that. I mean, I was watching live when they unveiled the PS5 in 2020. The whole house was watching the announcement. Like, you know what I mean? It was like everyone is just stopping what they're doing, and it's more accessible to see it in that live format. I mean, last year or this year, wow, it's weird thinking about it like that. Last year when they unveiled the Apple Vision Pro, I was in class watching the Apple event with the rest of my fellow peers, watching the Apple unveil history. This is something that would be exclusive to maybe people who went to Macworld, stuff like that, events like that in the '90s. So stuff like that is just interesting. Because seeing the market shift in this way, it makes you think, what's next to sink and who will swim. You know?
Yeah. Also, to add on that point, it's just the fact that I think triple A games are like losing its relevancies now because you see like very successful indie games like what was it again, like Stray or Hades, those types of games like coming out of the woodworks and like winning awards now, and and then there's like Baldur's Gate kind of like changing the landscape for like AAA games as well, like raising the standards and bar for like how a AAA game should treat its customers and so on and so forth.
Right, right. I think people are also starting to really feel this disconnect between triple A games. You know, online updates. Now you can't throw in your game without having to be online. Little small anti features. Making the same game every time. I mean, the most recent Call of Duty, I think it's Modern Warfare 3, got like one of the worst ratings on Metacritic. Metacritic? Is that the game? Is that the game? Oh no, it's gonna drive me insane. What's the game review website? Is it Metacritic?
Is it? I was about to say Kotaku, but
Technically,
yeah.
Metacritic is an aggregator of all the reviews for not only video games but also for music and for television and movies. So
I
yeah.
see. Okay, the more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got one of the. I know on one platform, if not all of them, they got the newest Call of Duty got like the lowest score because this was supposed to be like a season pass, and then they just kind of turned into a full game for some reason. I was just like, wow, wow, what a.
Yeah, it's an over glorified DLC. Like I think as of recent, probably one of the top games at the moment called if you guys know, called Lethal Company. Yeah, it somehow even at its early access, it actually outsold Call of Duty now.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's only it's on the Steam and it's like 8 quid from where I'm from. That's probably like $9-10 in the US if I remember. And there's only one person working on it, and he promised like weekly updates, not bi-weekly updates, which is like probably like an update every 2 weeks, which is very impressive for a single man team.
Yeah, independent creators and studios and stuff, they've been killing it. I mean, even me and Adrian talked about this little uh, last show where independent animation studios and stuff like that. The people are realizing now that, hey, why I'm not gonna work for this company that treats me like garbage. I'm gonna do my own thing and get some people who are also passionate, and then you get a better product every time. It's inspiring, very inspiring.
Yeah, and Lackadaisy was, I think, one of the prime examples of that. My co-host Emma Settles and I, we touched upon that on the Zachary and Peaches show in November of 2023, and we kind of sped through it because I think because of the circumstances of the recording there. But I'll leave that for another time. But we just kind of really marveled at the simplicity of the kind of really the simplicity of the story and also the animation style too. So there is that. And we also discussed about the Amazing Digital Circus, which Glitch Productions, excuse me, collaborate with Gooseworks, who is a YouTube animator. They collaborated with Gooseworks on that one, and that has received like tons of views, and even surpassing the viewing figures for the pilot to Hazbin Hotel, which Vivziepop made, and by the way, is going to become an Amazon Prime video series starting in the 2024 this year, as we are going to release this anyway. So, so
It's specifically at the 19th of January.
cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, 100 million views in a month. I marveled at that figure last month, and I'm marveling at that figure this month because that's that's insane. Think about that. In 1 month, 100 million views. I have no idea what it's at now, but tremendous insanity, really. Another thing about animation, though, I want to touch up on is okay. So, Shmeez, you are actually you're going to school for animation, right?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it too in
No,
depth, but yeah.
we won't go into detail, but I do want to touch upon this piece of our coverage because your background and your passion for animation and your knowledge on the topic translated over to your work on the Procreate Dreams video, which again is one of our most popular reports. How did you find out about that story? What made you pitch the idea, and what went into that writing process for you?
Honestly, when I actually didn't realize this, but on my Twitter there was actually a countdown announcement for something to do with Procreate. I actually did not know anything about it until I watched the announcement. And yeah, they were it was like going in depth about like Procreate Dreams. It was like a few months back, like maybe before September-ish.
Mhm.
So yeah, and obviously like Procreate being like a really like a good company for like when it comes to our applications. Um that it almost competes with the Photoshop in terms of like for art. And yeah, and when they announced like Procreate Dreams, like that like an animation software that uses the same features from the base Procreate, I thought that's actually quite revolutionary because a lot of there are actually many industry professionals that I know of, from like say Riot Games to um Fortiche, if I remember, and Sony. I actually didn't realize this, but until I had a master class with like someone who worked on Across the Spider Verse, that there was actually some of the interns that use Procreate for some works. And yeah, it's and like knowing that like probably this like the best evolution for Procreate to go forward, which is like yeah, it's just yeah, I thought it'd be like very important to cover it, just and also it's just probably me being an inner nerd when it comes to like art stuff, like speaking to me, I guess.
I totally understand that, and again, that really translated over into what we wrote and what we ended up editing and producing on the website. I think I don't know how many views it's sitting. I think it's sitting at over 1,000, which we had just started the new channel a week prior, I believe, if not 2 weeks prior, and so that we uploading that and that being our most popular video within just starting the channel, it's crazy, crazy. So I mean, great work once again. I also want to touch upon news audio because around the time that you produced that video, I was sort of working behind the scenes. I think you could hear it in the video itself where we put the underscore to news audio in the background. I'd actually been working on it for, let's say, a few weeks at that point. I think it was August. Might have been August. I don't remember. It started off as a parody of news radio. You turn on for me a New Yorker, turn on CBS News Radio 880 or 1010 Wins. You hear the same headlines all the time, and it's you got your music and it's very well packaged together. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, I want to parody that. I parodied it, and I sent it to Adrian, I believe as soon as I like the night I made it, and he was like, "Hey, this is pretty good," and he also he also one of the one of the headlines was a sex ed teacher from the Bronx was was arrested for showing hentai in class, and Joe Biden was being based. And what's looking at what's wrong with looking at anime girls? Details on the hour at 12:30, and we were just laughing about that in the DMs, and I was like, "Oh man, I kind of like this idea." So I evolved it a little bit, and we kind of turned it into a full production. So starting from almost going into September, I was recording a new show almost every week. I recorded all the music for the show in the Saturday afternoon. The opening jingle and the background music was a nod to the music I had composed for Lightning News, which was the first production I'd ever scored. That was fun to do. So yeah, it was really fun to just kind of put some effort towards something that, hey, it might work out, it might not work out. If it doesn't, hey, I made a meme out of it. So it is what it is. Uh, but me and Adrian recently we've been working on rebranding News Audio. That this is a new development. Uh, Depending on when this episode comes out, you might have already heard it. The music is really nice. I gotta say. So we got new cover art for the show, and we also got new music that was done by both me and Adrian. Mostly Adrian though. The format is staying the same, but yeah. Walk me through that process of writing that theme for me, because you know I always want to hear like behind the scenes.
Honestly, I was just kind of messing around with with the melody at that point. It was just kind of really, I feel like it always has to start off with getting the bass with like the melody down. Like, what's the audio logo going to be? Is it going? Oh, how many notes is it going to be? What's the progression and whatnot? And I think WTN's new audio logo kind of really came a little bit. I guess a little bit naturally to me because I wanted to get that authoritative sound down. Like this is WTN news. Here is what's happening and all of that. And I think it just kind of really it just came naturally to me. And I once I sent that particular melody to you, and you were like, "Heck yeah, let's do that." And so we kind of basically ripped off of each other for the most part. I think you had like some ideas, and then I kind of had my own ideas, and we just kind of really kind of melded it all together into like something that had a lot of depth. There was a lot going on, but it was cohesive and really made sense as to the kind of urgency that news music requires, especially when you're setting it to headlines and stories and all the like.
Yeah, part of the reason why at first I was a little in my head for the longest time. I was like, I want to have a new summer music, because back then we were doing uh lightning news, and we had the lightning news summary, and that was a consistent thing. I always wanted to have something that was a little different than the repeated staccato notes that I had recorded back in 2022. When I had re-recorded the entire set of music in August to do the news summary, I had this idea, and we built upon it later with your edition, where I was inspired by 1010 wins back in 2010 to around 2019 ish, 2021 maybe, as far as that, where each headline built upon the last one. So each bed would be an evolution of the next one, changing in pitch, changing in tonality, changing with instruments, changing with just everything, and it would just build up to this massive crescendo almost. And part of the thing that kind of made me, you know, almost warm up to the idea of changing the theme was, okay, I like how we're sounding right now, but could we sound better? Could we do better? Could we go that extra mile and say, make it more authoritative? Because the one before then, I thought it sounded nice. I thought it sounded okay, but it sounded almost playful, and it has its appeal, and I love it, and it's my baby, take care of it and stuff. But the one we have now, I think it's just great. I think it's great. When you sent me that audio logo, like you said, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is it. This is it. This is the sound that we want to go for next year. And so he sent me the project file, and I just, we did it all in GarageBand because we're independent creators here. We don't do things with $1 million budgets. We do things with our phones and our computers, and we're proud of it. So on my phone, I was just like messing around with the panning, and there was this part in the bed where there's a slide of the piano where it goes from G, uh, G in one octave, and it slides down to G in a lower octave, I believe. It's just all these different little bits and pieces, and we got different staccatos, strings and stuff. And you had these drums where they're very forward, they're very dun, 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 very exciting, very punchy. And that's something I loved. I described it at the time as shoving a spoonful of news at the viewer forcefully. My words exactly. So it was great. Great stuff. I'm really looking forward to News Audio's future in terms of content. Though I do want to ask both of you. You guys know we do 3 stories for 3 different locations. We have international, local, and national news. And we do it all in 3 minutes, and we have weather. Do you think that's too much to kind of throw out the viewer? I'm curious because also I feel like we're alienating part of our audience by shoving New York news to people who might not be from New York. I mean, I was looking at our analytics, and some of the people that are listening are from like Bosnia or Morocco. I'm like, I wonder why they care about what's going on over here. You know what I mean? So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I'm trying to look at this at the perspective of being from someone from the UK, but like, yeah, I think I just tend to not be interested in the New York stuff. Obviously, because like I'm not really from New York or am ever interested in New York. Though, like, there are some news that kind of like give me a chuckle once in a while whenever I hear about the city. So yeah.
What about you, Adrian?
I kind of agree with Shmeez here, and I think the fact that it's nice to have regional news, but I think it should be its own thing, and I don't think we're at that point yet where we can offer. I don't think we have I don't think we're even at that point or even at that functionality yet where we can actually offer regional news. I think at this particular juncture, I think we just probably need to focus more on like national and international news and have that be our rudder, and then perhaps we can perhaps like maybe throw in a little bit of tech news on the whole thing too. But other than that though, I think local news, I think that will be something entirely separate. That I think at this point, considering the worldwide reach that we might have, I think
Mm-hmm.
it might be a little bit unnecessary to put in like New York like specific headlines like from like New Rochelle or Westchester County or New York City, the state of New York, or anything along those lines there. So yeah, I think perhaps refocusing ourselves just towards national and international coverage. I think that might be a better way to go if we want to have more viewership and such.
I think regional news also is our best opportunity at original coverage in a way. Like looking at it from my perspective as to why I kind of planned it that way, even though it didn't really manifest in that way. Um, Part of the reason why it was planned around that way was almost because I'm already in the area. If I'm like nearby, I could probably like capture a video or something or another and like take a picture and post it on the internet or something, you know. Uh, so I could, but I totally get what you're saying. Like that is spreading ourselves a bit too thin because even if like I were to go out and take those photographs and stuff like that, I can't cover everything in the whole 5 boroughs and stuff like that. So I completely understand. Let's actually moving forward. I do want to set a course of action then. I'm gonna probably cut the regional news because it also makes the show unnecessarily long. And then we're probably gonna there's 4 beds in the new package. So that last bed that we have, we'll have 3 international and national headlines, and then the last bed will probably be like technology, and then we'll go to weather, and then we'll call it a day. Is weather even necessary though? What are your thoughts?
As someone who's from England, it's not very appealing to just hear someone saying, "Oh, look at this lovely weather," and then here in England it's just raining, and then coast just blowing winds that almost knocked some of the students in my uni by like a tree. So it's
Oh, you
not
poor
exactly
souls
fun.
over there.
I um the British weather is something that isn't exactly as appealing as it should be.
You should come. You should come over to Florida then, because then over the summer here we have like it's like very humid over there, and obviously not a lot of people can handle that, especially people from California or Nevada. Obviously the humidity is much different than it is out like in the desert there. So, I guess I can see your point there. But the thing I think the thing with our weather segment here, I think it's nice when we have it like combined with the regional headlines here, but if we're not gonna do regional headlines, then I don't think a weather segment would be that necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Maybe we could look into that later. I mean, there was a period where I was trialing out a tweet. It wasn't an automatic tweet. I would stay up until like 12 o'clock in the morning, so it'd be like 5 o'clock in London, and I'd write out a weather forecast, and I'd publish it on Twitter. That lasted me about 2 nights before I got tired of it, so that was great. Uh, so I mean, maybe we could look into something like that in the future because I do think weather would be a nice thing to do. Show people what it was like. It was all snowy. I was reading in the Sun that you guys over in London, you guys will get pounded with snow this winter. So that's exciting. I don't know if it'll actually happen, but that's exciting.
Well, it's most likely going to be the wet kind of snow.
Aw, that's no fun. So now is the time for our staff highlights section where we talk about your work outside of what we do here at KirMedia. Over here, Shmeez, you're an artist, you're a college student, you have all this stuff going on, but you also are working on a comic. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's more of like a fan comic that I wanted to probably do for years, and now I'm starting production of it finally, but it's just like, it's a bit slow when it comes to like writing stuff and probably designing characters and probably also structuring the comic, which is yeah, I'm discovering how difficult it is, especially for just one person.
Hmm.
And yeah, and but to be honest, I kind of just try to treat it as like its own exercise in a way, cuz uh like in my one of my assignments in uni is actually write a report on what I want to do after I graduate, and which is for me it's probably just doing around pre-production when it comes to like film, TV, like online web shows, stuff like that. And it was like specified specifically for animation, but it can just generally talk about like general like live action film and TV, which is yeah, I don't mind doing that, but I'm not as interested in it, if you get what I mean.
I get it. I mean, when we talk a little bit, off outside of this. You've been doing a lot of screenplays for your comic, which I thought was really interesting. What goes into doing that? What made you decide to do maybe like a screenplay as opposed to what do people do? Storyboards or something like? I don't know. I don't know how it works in the industry, so you would know more about that than I do.
Well, actually, the only reason why I did a screenplay instead is because I actually don't know how to structure a comic or like plan it out.
Mhm.
And then I think after like doing at least like a couple of screenplays for my comic, I found like a guide on how to structure a comic, and I looked at it. I was like, okay, I think this may looking at like how to structure comics, like a plan. If you want, I'll send like a PDF if I can find it. Um, yeah, it's a bit. I the the thing is that you kind of just need like a really um clear idea of what like each page is going to look like, which is, I think, on its own is overwhelming
Mhm.
because you're like, along with planning the dialogue, you're also planning on like how many panels will be on the page. What what's the word again when like it's like a sound effect but in words, onomatopoeia, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have to plan that. You have to break everything down into each page, and yeah, I thought that was a bit overwhelming for me to like look at. So I think screenplay makes it easier for me because obviously I'm more comfortable with storyboarding overall, which is probably helps considering that obviously going into storyboarding as a job later down the line, hopefully.
Is that something that you would be interested in doing? Or would you, I mean, are you more into like the writing or the drawing? Where do you lie within that balance?
Probably it's I think I'm at a point at which I don't know what I want to specify, and obviously it'd be really nice to have both skills, right?
Mhm, yeah, yeah.
So makes me more appealing to a potential employer, but I think it's like focusing on one thing would probably make my life a bit easier.
Right, right, right. So to those who don't know what this comic is about, if you don't mind me sharing, is it's an alternate universe in the series. I mentioned it earlier. We've been talking about it. I brought it up throughout this entire episode called Inazuma 11. This is the Go series. This is where Raimon loses against Dragon Link. This is her original take on characters, art, story, and more. Uh, she is looking for volunteers, though, specifically with writing and character design. So if you have any information, do reach out in the show notes. In the show notes? Is that what it's called on Anchor? I forget. Is it called? I'm not used to this. I'm sorry.
It's the description. So they will probably find that in the description there. In any case, Shmeez, when if you do have any information that you like to share with us, I'm pretty sure we will probably have it down in the description of this particular episode.
100%. If I don't procrastinate on Saber, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Please don't. You've already have like you've already done like you've already forgotten enough. Then you've already never mind. Never mind.
I, I get it. I get it. Um, but now we're gonna go on to you. Um, you're an artist. You're a writer. You do music sometimes. You host a podcast. You got additional projects coming soon. Tell me about all the stuff that's going on in that brain of yours, Adrian.
Well, I appreciate that. In a past life, I used to do like electronic dance music, but that's like a whole other thing for a whole other time. But the big thing here is, of course, the Zachary and Peaches show. That's of course the podcast I do with a fellow artist, a fellow graduate of the arts in Philadelphia, and also a friend of mine. Their name is Emma Settles, and we have been doing that podcast since March of 2023, and we are currently in our second season. And we're currently in our as we are recording this, we're currently on hiatus. But when it is released, we will probably be in the second half of our second season. Which, by the way, starting with our second half of the season, we are going to have we're gonna have our Zachary and Peaches animation news break, powered by the World Telegram News, and that's gonna be very exciting because we're gonna be tapping into the resource of WTN and having them provide news from around the animation industry and perhaps even the wider entertainment industry as well, and to keep our listeners informed and to provide another platform for not only our listeners but also your listeners, potential and prospective listeners, viewers, readers, to engage with WTN's content and eventually stay informed and stay connected and through WTN's official platform. So I'm really excited about that, and also excited about what we have coming up. With everything going on, we've got an Oscars show. We got 2 Oscars editions coming up in March. We also have a game night edition planned as well, and of course, and we also have a bunch of other stuff to discuss as well. And I'm sure we will have that announced in due course, if it has not already been announced in due course. By the time this goes to release, so there's that, and on top of that, this is also going to be a surprise here. I actually have another project in the works with regards to another podcast, and
Ooh.
it's going to be like an interview series. I think it was after. Let's just say that after the interview I did with Jim Stanton of Studio 31 Media Archive that you and I discussed about on our last edition of Behind What's Happening, I kind of really got to thinking maybe I could do something along those lines, but maybe with a broader focus. Maybe not just focus on the broadcast industry, but also like entertainment, maybe entertainment, the arts, community stuff, and also maybe kind of wade into politics every once in a while. So that is something that I'm really looking forward to do. Tentatively, it is called Zachary Talks With. And basically, the format, of course, I think the title format will probably have it like be the name of the person being interviewed. But we will have everything sorted out in due course, and it will be officially announced in due course once we have everything set. By the way, Edvardi, I actually am considering having you as one of my first guests on that particular podcast series. So I will
Yay.
probably. Yeah, so I might reach out. So at some point, I will reach out to you and see how we can work things out and have you be one of my first guests on there. So
That's exciting.
yeah, so we'll see how things go in 2024. Probably thinking about a lot of potential guests to interview and just have a little bit of fun, get to know them, and even in a way also tap into my journalism intellect, so to speak, and get into that perspective, and not only ask the hard questions but also kind of really get like some good stories as well, and some good anecdotes and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that project, and also looking forward to what's ahead for the Zachary and Peaches show as well. So I can't wait. Of course, we're on Instagram and Threads at Zachary and Peaches, and if anything, I'm also on Instagram and Threads as well at Adriamata26, and of course my other Instagram and Threads accounts at Zackwent Hub. So yeah, so pretty much about it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, that's a lot of information to unpack here. I mean, again, this collaboration between the World Telegram News and the Zachary and Peaches show, it's been what a few weeks, maybe a month in the making. I actually really enjoyed writing for the animation news segment because I learned a lot of stuff about behind the scenes. I mean, one of the stories I did in the test run edition that I produced for them, almost like a pilot, was what's going on over at Napa with animators on Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. They're overworked and really treated very poorly over there in Japan. Uh, with work culture and stuff like that going on over there. So, learning more about this aspect of the industry that's not necessarily talked about too often until these these animators are coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm getting kind of tired of putting all this work into a cut, for example, and it being rejected over and over again. Stuff like that, where it really kind of breaks down on their self-esteem." And as I was reading these tweets of people saying, I'm getting tired of this. I'm giving up." Yeah, just seeing all these people finally come out and speaking up about how they've been treated and everything just really made me want to learn more about the industry and explore it further. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to work with, again, the Sakurai Peaches show, and I hope it's a continuing partnership because we can do amazing work when we're apart, and we'll do even better work when we're together. So yeah, this is really exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having y'all as purporting be a part of the podcast, and yeah, pretty. Just looking forward to seeing what we can do. And by the way, about the working about the tweets there, it's not that I don't think it's that far different than what we have seen in the news regarding Across the Spider Verse and also Beyond the Spider Verse as well. Because you have like a bunch of like animators kind of speaking out about the working conditions over there, and similar stuff going on with like having to do certain like having to animate or do certain scenes like over and over again until the directors got it to a specific point that they can really utilize for the movie. So there is that. And some things like that, it just it can work down on animators. And especially when it comes to directors that really try and really do care. Like I didn't care about the final product, almost to the detriment of everybody that's working on the product itself.
Exactly.
And I think that's very important to point out too. And at this point, the most important thing is to try. You have to have fun doing this kind of job. Otherwise, what is the point? And it's just, and also it kind of really goes hand in hand with having the right people on, like, working together, and also overlooking everything that's being worked on in a single project and such.
Exactly, and it's all about kind of towing that line between also, are we going to be a perfectionist? How much of a perfectionist can we be? How much of a perfectionist should we be? And how happy are the staff? Because if they're not happy, at the end of the day, we're getting a worse product, or a rushed product, or something that we didn't put our heart into just for the sake of, money and agreements and contracts and all the stuff that goes into making a show and putting it to air, like they do over in Japan and over here in the United States. So yeah, it's interesting. But how do you guys feel about this format? Any thoughts, criticisms as we wrap this up?
Um, I think it's like fun. Obviously, it's probably like Edvardi's, well, essentially everyone's first time hearing my voice. And yeah, I'm not just like some disembodied voice that works in KirMedia. Woo.
It's exciting. I mean, like I told you over text, I was like, for the longest time, it's always fun to have to see how someone types and kind of guess their voice when you hear them for the first time. For some reason, I had a hard time really kind of finger pointing yours. So it's nice to kind of put the voice to the words. Is that how it's to go? I'm gonna make a phrase if it's not, if it isn't one. But yeah, it's nice. It really is.
I mean, it doesn't really help that I tend to just kind of not really write my stuff in paragraph, but like line by line.
Nah, no, same though, because over here, like, I used to write paragraphs. I mean, I feel bad for whoever knew me in like 2020, because I'd write people paragraphs, and
Oh my god.
I feel so bad because people are
That is the Roman Empire, and you fucking know it.
Honestly, if someone sends me a paragraph of a text, they probably have an issue with me or something. That's usually what I expect.
Yeah, it's like overwhelming to look it up. Like, I ain't reading all that.
Either congrats or I'm sorry, bro. I didn't read all of it, but it's cool.
For real though. For real though, legit. But uh, Adrian, I know you and I talked about a little bit last week, about how I'm sorry, about how you thought the show went. This show now we got more people, and I tried to structure it a little better. What are your thoughts?
I think what we got going here is fine. I think over time, once we get a couple shows in, I think we'll have a better understanding of how we can go about this a little bit better. So just enjoying it for what it is so far, and then of course, if there's any way we can make it a little bit better, then certainly we'll have those. Certainly, we can take whatever suggestions that we might have for ourselves in mind, and try and improve upon it.
100%. Okay, one last question. I skipped it for some reason, even though it's highlighted in bold letters. Shmeez, what is your tech setup? What do you do your art and your video editing and stuff? Well, I've always been curious, so share for the audience.
You'll be disappointed to know that I work with a Lenovo IdeaPad gaming laptop. Actually, it's
Interesting.
so my laptop essentially just by itself comes with like all the accessories that I bought for like the last few years I've had it, and this yeah, this is a tank as I would describe it, because this computer managed to run DaVinci and all of my games, and my Clip Studio Paint as well. Like obviously this laptop has limited storage, but you have like what do you call that, like a storage
SSD
that you
hard drive.
plug in.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard drive. So yeah, obviously I have my own iPad for Procreate as well, and I own a uh I haven't actually used it as much as I thought I would. It's my XP Artist 12 artist graphics tablet, the one with the screen specifically.
Mm.
Um yeah, but I'm probably going to have to search for a mount for that, cuz using it is like actually starting to hurt my back and my actual arms.
Oh, it doesn't come with a stand.
It's an old version that I got, which I got for like 200 quid,
Mm.
around that price point. So probably a bit more expensive. Um, it and besides, I think the stand that it comes with is not as good. I want like those arm stands that you can just adjust your screen with.
Yeah, the bendable ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to either use or probably get like a something to put on the stand that I use for my current graphics tablet, I guess. Yeah, let's just say I'm trying to like lessen um probably injuries that will probably um affect me in the long run, as my mother would constantly annoy me with taking care of my body, especially probably my biggest fear is being arthritis.
Oh boy, don't tell me about it. My mom always used to
Yeah.
fear monger me with maintaining proper posture. I wish I'd listened to her because now I sit like an arched turtle. It's terrible.
Yeah. As you said that, I strained my back. Yeah, I was gonna say that like the fear mongering is more effective when considering that both of my parents are nurses.
Ooh, jeez.
So like I can't really argue against them because it's literally their job.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So, Adrian, funny thing. So you also use a Lenovo, right?
Yes, it is an IdeaPad 330, and it's basically just a whole basic setup here. I actually have it propped up on a little stand here. It's actually like basic, like I can't really quite describe it, but it's like a little, but it's adjustable. It is adjustable, like at a certain, like to certain heights and whatnot. So there is that. But so I have that. I also have this. I also have the mic that I'm speaking into right now. It is a Zeal Sounds microphone. I can't remember the exact model name for it, but that is the mic that I use to record myself. Otherwise, I use like a bunch of different software here. In the past, I used the Adobe Creative Cloud because Adobe's subscription model is not quite financially sustainable for me. At this particular point in time, I've switched over to the Affinity suite of sorts with I guess with Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, and Affinity Publisher, which I was actually able to get the whole suite for like $99 at the start of 2023. So that was really, so that was really nice. I got that as a little bit of a deal there. And then of course, I kind of also transitioned over to Inkscape as well to create like certain logos and other designs too. So there is that as far as software goes. And then of course, GarageBand as well through my iPhone. I don't have it here on my laptop because obviously it is a Apple product, and my laptop is a Windows is on a Windows operating system, Windows 11. So pretty much there is that, and the thing here that I kind of really alluded to earlier as we were starting the show is that I had a bit of an eventful day today as we are recording this, and I was explaining this to you, Edvardi, that the monitor is kind of really malfunctioning. The screen itself looks like it is underwater, and so the colors look like it's like in a green and a cyan and a bluish kind of a tone, except for the first few rows of pixels there. And so I was trying to get it fixed like on the same day in as quick of a manner as possible, but unfortunately, with this recording that we're doing, the day of, obviously I couldn't really quite get that done. So now, I'm just kind of really waiting for the next available time and opportunity, and of course the money as well, to try and get that monitor fixed. So probably some point during the new year, I will probably get that, taken care of. But in the meantime, I do have an external monitor on the way, and that's gonna be fun. It will be a ViewSonic external portable external monitor, and I'll try to see if that's gonna work with this laptop, and if it does, then I'll go back to then it'll probably be a stopgap solution until I can get like the actual, like the primary monitor fixed up. So that's my situation right now with the laptop here. Maybe perhaps when this gets to air, it might be fixed, but I can't quite guarantee that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally get that. It's funny though, because all three of us are kind of remote, like laptop workers, so to speak, which is really, I don't know, it's really cool how much uh, punch can be packed into a small enough package as a computer. I mean, it's not small. Some of these computers are like 14, 16 inches now, but you know, as small of it's a portable PC basically. 16 gigabytes of RAM, or maybe for some people 32. It's crazy, really crazy. Personally, over here, I'm rocking a HP Pavilion 2-in-1 computer. I recently switched to Linux. That was fun. I am running Pop OS. It's been a really fun experience. Not so fun with trying to relearn software though. LibreOffice. I love LibreOffice. Best Microsoft Office alternative I've found. Uh, Shmi's put me onto this app. It's called Scenarist. I don't know if I'm pronouncing
Oh
that right.
yeah, yeah, it's Scenarist, yeah.
Scenarist, right. It's a screenwriting software, and it's been very useful for me for writing the first two episodes of Reconnect. That was really really fun to learn how to properly format a screenplay. I also used it on my final senior exit project for school, so I'm taking a class in video production, and I really didn't want to learn how to do it all in Google Docs. So the minute she told me about this application, I'm like, yeah, Thank God I found that. Thank God she told me about it because that useful stuff. Besides that, I use Audacity, video editor. Excuse me, video editor, audio editor. Bleh. Words are mushing right now. My brain is turning off, and we have 9 minutes before the next one. Ouch. Yeah. So Audacity over here. Yeah. I love this new configuration. I must say I had my reservations about switching over to Linux, and truthfully, I haven't had too many issues with this. I mean, it's been very stable. My only issue, and I noticed this before recording, and I started panicking, is my microphone doesn't work on my computer, and it's annoying me. Where it will sound like garbled, distorted mess, or just trash, really, just garbage, disgusting, really. No one wants to listen to that, and I was like, "What is this?" I was looking at the waveforms, and I'm like, "They're spiking." I'm like, "Okay, maybe it's just the app that I'm using." No, I open it up in Audacity, and it sounds like trash. I'm like, I'm not doing this. So now I've got like the most jankiest setup ever. I'm using my iPad 2018 because I'm broke. iPad 2018 that's doing the call. I got a backup recorder, my iPhone XR, because I'm broke. That's recording backup audio in case something goes wrong. So yeah, because I'm paranoid. So yeah, that's my tech setup. That's what's going on over here. And that's all the time we have on the show for today. If you have any questions for next show, send them in to kirchannel24@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay sharp and stay creative.